Hi, good morning, everybody. Good. You should know better than to put a politician's head that size anywhere near a politician. Wow, is that what I look like? Okay. So I'm going to start with a joke, a random joke that my daughter, my 7-year-old daughter, told me yesterday. It leads into nothing, but here it is. So I was away, actually in Albany yesterday. I FaceTimed her, and she said, "Hey, Dad, what did one plate say to the other plate? Dinner is on me." I thought it was awesome. Okay, so I got a story to tell about how we got the first 6,000 units. But first, I want to thank Laura Michoud. She is the greatest. Can we give Laura a round of applause? I try to think of myself as like the Queen of England. When Laura tells me to show up and wave, I do my Queen of England wave. But she's fantastic. And also thank you to the board for all the work you do, and to the staff at the network. The staff is remarkable, and the work you do, yes, I'm looking at you. You guys are fantastic. And then to everybody in this room who makes this product, supportive housing, where you're changing people's lives, and not just any people, but the people who are having the most difficulty in our society. And you are crucially needed and crucially appreciated. So can I have everybody give yourselves and everybody else in the room a round of applause for the incredible work that you do. Now, here's a little bit of a political story. I won't go on too long, although it's in my genetics to go on long when I get in front of a microphone. So right now, we're in the worst homeless crisis since the Great Depression. We have 60,000 people in shelter in New York City. You get up to about 85 or 90 when you go statewide, and 150,000 children in New York are homeless. That's when you count all the kids who are doubled up on beds, not in their own homes. So we're in a terrible crisis. And one of the responses, there's two ways to look at this crisis. First is you got to deal with the population that are currently in shelter. What do you do with that population? Well, the answer is supportive housing. It was created by the people in this room. It was created in the 80s in New York. I was out of town recently and was able to tell the people from other states, yeah, New York did it, because we're the greatest. They didn't love that, but it was supportive housing. You guys had the model. So when you have people, this amount of people in shelter, supportive housing is the way to get them out of shelter into an environment where they can be taken care of and their problems handled in a safe, caring environment. That's one part of the solution. The other part, which I'll be talking about, not today, but in the coming year, is a rental supplement. It's cheaper to keep people in their houses than let them become homeless. That's an argument for another day. Sure. It's good for people and save taxpayer money. By the way, that's exactly the argument I was able to make to all of my colleagues. So Laura is right. When she told me about this product, it was oh my God, this saves money and is good for people? Okay, that shouldn't be that hard to sell. But the problem is, in the midst of this crisis, we had a governmental failure. Every governor since Mario Cuomo cut a deal to build supportive housing. New York 1, 2, and 3. Every governor got on board, yet we had, in the last couple of years, a failure of government where the mayor of the city of New York and the governor of the state of New York, for whatever reasons, couldn't cut a deal, the first time in history. So what do? What we do is we push them, okay? And one of them was more willing than the other. And this is a celebratory environment, but I want to be honest about what happened here and how we got here. So with Laura's help and the strength of the network, I helped organize, and with my colleagues, 133 out of the 150 members of the Assembly, to sign a letter saying to the governor, we need 35,000 units of supportive housing. That's for the existing crisis. And with friends like Ralph, we told them, hey, to all my colleagues, we brought them in by region, this is the crisis in Western New York, this is the crisis in Long Island, and taught them about this product. And as a result, we got those 133 members to sign on. Then we went after the Senate, and the Senate got on board with the help of some of my Republican colleagues, because remember, you save taxpayer money. This is a bipartisan effort. So Senator Marty Golden comes on board and gets Republicans to come on board. And as a result of that, Mayor de Blasio comes out, and we lobbied him for 15,000 units of supportive housing. They're going to be built, and the mayor is in the process of getting those units out. There's a little bit of a push and pull between the mayor and the governor, but the governor, not to be outdone, in the next state of the state comes out with 20,000 units of supportive housing. Gotta love politics. which gets us to our 35, which is a great thing. That's a first step, however. Those units have not been delivered. Now, the city, I believe, is on track to deliver those units. It's going to take them several years. But the state gets bogged down in ugly Albany politics, which I am a part of. So what happens, yes, it's good to be a little self-knowledge never hurt anybody. I'm part of that system. But the governor's idea for 20,000 units of supportive housing, he makes the big argument in the state of the state that he's going to do it, and then he comes out for the money for the first 6,000 units. In that year, you'll remember it was 2 years ago, that got pushed to the wayside. It fell off the radar in Albany, and the reason was all our effort was being pushed towards getting a $15 minimum wage for the people of the state of New York. So while we didn't like that the supportive housing got pushed off, we said, you know what, this is a good result. We'll deal with this later. We'll put it in an MOU. Boy, was that a mistake. And after the MOU gets pushed till the end of session, then some other things get attached to that MOU that shouldn't have been attached to that MOU, like the 421A tax abatement deal. So now our supportive housing, the first 6,000 units, is stuck with Republicans in the Senate wanting their 421A, the Assembly wants some other things, the MOU is stuck, and we wait a year. But during that year, and this is the strength of the network, and this is the strength of Laura Michoud, you guys never quit. There were protests in front of the governor's office every week or every other week, reminding the politicians, hey guys, you're not going to get away with forgetting about this. We know the money is there. Give us our 6,000 units. And as a result, because the pressure never stopped, us politicians said, okay, we got to really get this done. And finally, it took another year, but the first 6,000 units have finally come online, and Laura's right, no more MOU. So you can give a round of applause to that. But that's just 6,000 units out of the 20,000 that Governor Cuomo promised. He owes us 14,000 more units. And I'm very happy for the governor. I'm proud of him that he filled a little over a quarter of his commitment. We need the rest, and we need the rest immediately. So when the governor comes out in his State of the State next year, he better have the next round of funding lined up so we can get this going. And by the way, if it ever comes to that, I promise I will almost kill somebody if they try to talk about an MOU again. We're not going to let that happen again. But we need those other units, and we need them to solve the existing crisis. And then I want to touch on what Laura touched on one more time. What is happening in Washington? And what do those people think is going to happen when they put some of these draconian cuts through? When you start cutting housing funds from HUD, when you start cutting food stamps, what do you think happens? People become homeless. And then their existing crises get worse, and they need a place to stay. So the 35,000 units that we are fighting for is for the current crisis. If the insanity out of Washington actually comes to fruition in some way, shape, or form, which I unfortunately think some of it will, we're going to have a bigger crisis on our hands, and we'll need more supportive housing. So the bottom line is, you guys have been fantastic in teaching my colleagues and I about what you do, about how important it is, and how more important it's going to be if crazy politicians like myself keep doing bad things. So as a result of your work, I'm proud to say we got the first 6,000 units. We're going to now go shoulder to shoulder. I hope you'll come with me and Laura and my other friends on the board and everybody in the Supportive Housing Network and fight for the other 14. And if we need to and have to, go after as many units as possible to make sure that the most vulnerable New Yorkers are taken care of, and the taxpayers of New York save an incredible amount of money, because supportive housing saves money and it saves lives. Thank you all for all of your work. It's been a pleasure being here with you this morning.